RadioShack? Okay.
What?
The groups responded. They want us to tell them more.
You want a piece of my heart? You better start from the start. You wanna be in the show?
Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie, the project manager, and we are Into Ads RadioShack team. We are back today to address some of your comments and concerns. Today, Sue, our account executive, will take you on a brief journey through RadioShack's background and history. Then, Yuxing, our consumer research director, will present further information regarding our qualitative and quantitative research. Next, Sue will come back to talk to you about our positioning strategy and target audience. Lastly, Sokwon will close the presentation with our campaign objective.
Hi, I'm Sue. As the account executive, let me walk you through our past history first. RadioShack traces its roots to two separate and very different entrepreneurial ventures. The Hinckley Tandy Leather Company, a supplier of leather shoe parts to shoe repair shops, founded in Fort Worth, Texas in 1919. RadioShack was founded in 1921 by two brothers, Theodore and Milton Deutschman, who wanted to provide equipment for the nascent field of amateur or ham radio. In 1963, the original Hinckley Tandy Leather Company, that shortened its name as Tandy Corporation, acquired RadioShack, marking the company's start as a personal electronics retailer. In 2000, Tandy Corporation changed its name to RadioShack Corporation, listing on the New York Stock Exchange under ticker symbol RSH. In August 2009, RadioShack rebranded itself as The Shack. While the campaign increased the sales of mobile products, it was widely criticized. Now, RadioShack is trying to get back to the roots of what made the company great. As part of an aggressive redesign across its 8,000 retail locations, the electronics retailer is trying to marry the RadioShack of the 80s, a neighborhood meeting hall of tinkerers, makers, and electronics enthusiasts. The rebrand is about getting back to a place where makers once more feel comfortable walking into a RadioShack and making their inventions a reality. RadioShack intends to pursue this initiative as it continues to rebrand its retail stores in 2014. According to RadioShackCorporation.com, RadioShack's shops and website offer various products, such as wireless and residential telephones, computers, DVD players, electronic toys, and radios. For its mobile customers, the company sells third-party wireless calling plans from AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, and others. RadioShack stores also sell a wide range of electronics parts, batteries, and components which are considered as featured products of RadioShack. Now I will talk more about RadioShack's market share, which is one of its problems. According to IBIS Business Report, today Amazon.com is the biggest e-commerce retailer in the US, which has 18.9% of market share in the US e-commerce industry. And Best Buy is the consumer electronics largest player with 46.3% of market share of consumer electronic market. RadioShack has only 3.2% market share in this industry. As a result, RadioShack needs to position itself differently from other electronic retailers and to create the advantage that other competitors cannot offer to consumers. Now, Yuxing will present our consumer research section to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Yuxing Chen, the Consumer Research Director, and here I will give you guys more information about consumer research and some explanation upon the findings that we concluded. For the qualitative research, we did 4 field observations, 2 RadioShack stores located at Glendale and Vermont Avenue, and 2 Best Buy stores in City of Industry and Torrance. Each field observation lasted for about half an hour. 20 interviews have been done at UCLA campus, USC University Park campus, Glendale, and the cafe at Vermont Avenue. For sentiment analysis, we did research on Twitter, Facebook, Yelp, and the social mention. For the survey, there are 91 people in total participated in our survey. Among the 91 participants, 54% of them are male, and 46% of them are female. The age range is pretty big. It ranged from 18 to over 65, but 94% of the participants are aged from 18 to 44. The distribution of our respondents' household income is very even, with majority in the medium bracket. People mentioned that they need more explanation on the tables in the consumer research part. Here in the table at the left, you can see that there is a strong association between the brand familiarity and the interests in fixing electronics. People who have more interests in fixing the broken electronics by themselves tend to be more familiar with the brand RadioShack. And now take a look at the table at right. It shows the relationship between familiarity and the tendency to shop at RadioShack in the future. We can see that people who are more familiar with the brand RadioShack are less likely to choose to shop at there again. That's the reason why we had a conclusion that the brand experience and brand image are negative. It means people who are familiar with our brand, know what we sell, and have the possibility to be our loyal consumers have no interest to shop at RadioShack again. We also want to clarify our chart on consumers' brand impression on RadioShack and its competitors. According to the answer we got from the question, select all the characteristics that apply to each brand. Over half of the respondents saw Amazon.com and Best Buy as reliable and helpful, and only less than 20 people felt RadioShack as the same way. Now, Sue will come back to tell you more about our strategy recommendations.
Now I will talk more about RadioShack's positioning strategy. RadioShack changed its positioning strategy in January 2014, which differentiated RadioShack from other electronic retailers on consumer experiences. RadioShack is realigning their brand around their core purpose, which goes beyond their product assortment and price match guarantee. RadioShack helps consumers to find the products that need to connect and power their lives. More importantly, RadioShack can help create technology-based solutions that make anything possible in consumers' life. So, our group thinks it's very important for RadioShack to make the public aware of its positioning as the tech expert that can connect consumers to technology. Research shows that RadioShack and its associates serve as that collaborator for many consumers to create an emotional connection with their loyalists. Now I'm going to introduce the prior problematic targeting of RadioShack. During the last decade, RadioShack seemed to lost its track when it was trying to compete with other retailers. RadioShack did not know who its customers are because it was trying to appeal to everyone. Unfortunately, according to our survey, people who were born in the late 1980s or early 1990s are not really familiar with the store and don't have an understanding of what the brand stands for. They are not likely to shop there unless they know the store has something they need. RadioShack also tried to catch in these customers with iPods and cell phones, but it cannot compete with other big retailers that carry same electronic items with more options and lower prices. So, we think RadioShack should focus on three kinds of customers who have the purchasing power. There is electronic enthusiast, male, aged from 18 to 34, and focused on video games to ever bother attending engineering school. He likes to go in RadioShack and see what's there and buy it. By career, electronic enthusiast might be your tech support guy who is in the cubicle down the way. Then there is a science smarty, aged from 35 to 55. This might be the parent of electronic enthusiast, who actually has an advanced degree. Science Smarty likes buying RadioShack's electronic kits for nephews, sons, and neighbors' kids. There's also confused people. A person of any age who goes into RadioShack for the solution to a particular electronics problem that might be solved in the household. Confused person also goes into RadioShack to shop for children or grandchildren. He or she knows that if it is about electronics, RadioShack always has answers. Next, our marketing manager Sok Won will illustrate our campaign objective and conclusion to you.
In conclusion, our campaign objective is to differentiate RadioShack from competition by increasing consumers' awareness of its positioning strategy. Thank you for all your comments. The Inter-Ed RadioShack team will take every comment and suggestion into consideration for our final presentation.